Welcome. Over the Top Podcast. It's your boy HD in the building with the Over the Top Podcast crew. Hey guys, again. I know we say it every show, but I mean, you guys is our lifeline. So definitely thank you for tuning in to WDJY 99.1 FM every Wednesday at 6 p.m. We'll be on there live. If you can't catch us there. You can definitely catch us on our YouTube page. For those who are not in the Atlanta area, WDJY.com. You can put us on the internet feed at 6 p.m. on Wednesdays. So we're just trying to do our thing. Thanks for our Facebook page. Thanks for joining our Facebook Live. We definitely appreciate you. And continue to support us in our movement. Let's introduce our panel, man. Q, what's going on, man?
2 weeks ago, when I said there's two gay couples in the Bible, people may look at me crazy. Here is the verse. Told y'all I was gonna find it. Not only these two men kissing, these two is brothers. As in, quite literally, they are blood related.
Okay.
Playmaker, what's the deal, brother? We gonna keep that push. I understand. You gotta do a little fact checking on that, sir. But we're gonna keep that pushing. What you say, Playmaker?
Hey, what's the scripture in the verse? Hey, how y'all doing? I'm doing well. How y'all doing?
Genesis 33.
What is it?
4. Genesis 33.
Okay.
Verse 4.
Okay. Brother Ron, what's going on, RJ?
I'm just absorbing the environment.
Hey RJ, you got some knowledge in the world of biblical studies. So what do you think about with a brief? We think about that the verse and the chapter and verse that Q brought up. It's curious, huh?
Before I'm in, I would probably want to really think what the context is and the text. A lot of times when you sit down and you look at the Bible, a lot of people really they need to look at like what's the precursor to that text that they're reading and the after part of that text. And then you go and you can actually parse words because some words means different things, but when you read it, you can daggone get a little clarity. And then, man, to me, scripture comes through inspiration under it. Yeah, I'm working up that bit.
Cool. But we're not just mentioning your Q. I mean, hey, every topic is on the deck here Over the Top Podcast, man. We taste it all on. We taste it all.
I got it right here. Right up.
And the lady of the crew, Miss Toya, what's going on, Miss Lady? What's going on with you?
I'm good. I'm tired. Yeah.
Hey man, life always jumps on our back, especially the holiday season. It's getting cold out. It's cuddle weather, soup weather.
It's not none of that.
It is. It's cold out. It's cuddle weather.
Ain't no cuddling going on.
So what we got on the ad? What we got on deck with Ask Toya tonight?
So, dear Toya.
Hey, you know what? Can I say something? You might as well say bar humbug. That's what you should have said. Bar humbug.
There's no cuddling, sir. You get 5 minutes of cuddle time. Anyway.
5 minutes? Wait a minute. See, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yes, it is.
I'm a share.
Relationship show next week.
Okay, ready. Here we go. Dear Toya, recently started watching season 2 of High on the Hog, and it reminded me of the show with the conversations about Reconstruction and the Harlem Renaissance. I was wondering, as a few of you are part of the Great Migration, was there a Southern influence on the food that you came up with and how you cook today? If you have watched the show, what do you think of it? So, if for those you don't know, there's a show on Netflix called High on the Hog. The first season did from the diaspora, from Africa to slavery to up to Reconstruction. So this second season started with Reconstruction and it went through the Harlem Renaissance, civil rights, to current times, which I think is so dope. But it's all about our food and the foods that we brought with it that are still used today, and how we cultivated the world with our foods through history.
Cool. Playmaker, let's start with you. What's your thoughts?
So I haven't watched the show, so I can't answer the question about the show. But I think you can easily follow how food has migrated from the south to the north. And I think one of the things that is interesting is that we use some of those same practices, and it sometimes is not the healthiest. So I haven't seen the show, so I can't really speak of a lot of details about that. But I will say that, when you look at some of the foods that have migrated from the south to our present day, that sometimes you have to be careful because some of it is not the healthiest.
Okay, Q.
I haven't watched the show, but I will say food in the South is different than food in the North. As someone who was recently in Philadelphia, and I went up, I'm not gonna say the restaurant I went to, but I got a chicken sandwich. And a chicken sandwich from Pennsylvania, it made me miss the South. I said, no, hold on a second. Nah, let me go back. Let me go back to South Carolina and get a chicken sandwich with some seasoning on it. That's what I tried to explain to the person who came up with me because he's from Charleston. And I tried to explain, like, the further north you go, the less seasoning you taste in food.
That is not true.
Well,
That is not true. Go ahead.
Hey,
that is not true. It's the places you go. It depends on the places you go. That is.
I ate my first hot dog with no chili in the state of Pennsylvania, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So I don't know.
But what I will say is I did have a Philly cheesesteak and that was good. The chicken sandwich though, and it was if I said the name of the restaurant, y'all would know where I went to. I was downtown Philly.
But a lot of that food be line prep food, man. So you gotta give them the benefit of the doubt on some of those restaurants. When you look at like a chain restaurant like Chili's or something like that, if it's one of those type joints or Chick-fil-A or something like that. But if you go to like a cultural space and you eat, you're gonna get a better experience. Like that Philly cheesesteak places, they had those Philly cheesesteak places and those stands, man, they really like in the hood, bro. Like, and it ain't nowhere to park. And you gotta thug it out. You gotta have somebody with you to really go over there and partake. Now, it was worthwhile. It was just cold as heck when I was up there.
Right.
So,
well, what's your thoughts on that, Toya?
Hey man, wow. Being a person that has family members that are part of the Southern migration, they have gone up to the north and they come back to the south. Like my mother-in-law has lived long enough to go to the north and come back to the south. A lot of the food and the customs she brought with her. One of the big things they had gardens, so they would make a lot of their stuff fresh, and they would pick it themselves at times. Now she's like, I ain't picking nothing. She's been saying that for the last 20 years because when she was a child, she had to do that. However, man, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, different types of cornbreads, different types of food. I've never seen the show, but I do know that my mother-in-law, as well as my mother's food, my mother's family's food is just a little different. Like we were talking today, stuffing versus dressing. I like dressing. A lot of people like stuffing. So it's all in what you like, man. But that's an interesting question. Thank you for that. Thank you for that ask, Toya. That's a good departure from some of the things that we normally talk.
So I watched a little bit of the show, and I kind of got a background. I think with and I don't consider myself. Well, I don't consider part of my family migrated to the north. But as my personal life, I moved up north for the family, so I kind of have the both experiences. But what I realized coming out of the Reconstruction, cooking food was one of the major talents and one of the major industries that was in our black community. I mean, we used to grow gardens and sell those things, and that's when you go eating the fresh fruits and the fresh vegetables. One of my closest friends, and and I tell you, every time we talk about food, I bring him up because his father was 94, but he grew his own food. So he knew exactly what he was eating. He knew exactly what's going to his system. I think back then, growing up, I remember the Great Migration. You always seen somebody having a garden in the backyard. It wasn't nothing to see. Go down the street and look behind 4 or 5 houses, and every house had their own garden, growing their own foods. So I think we get back to that. Is the health report, but we also had some unhealthy habits. What Playman was alluding to, when we start talking about chitlins, you start talking about other meats that was cheap then, and now it's super expensive because now it becomes a delicatessen. My wife. I call my family with my wife for one. She was complaining this Thanksgiving, whereas the same amount of chitlins at one time was $6. Now it's $30. Now I'm not saying you eat the stuff. I'm just saying the price disparity. Now you eat it, you don't. It's not even the case. It's just the price
It
disparity.
should
You start looking at
still be $5. It's
what.
disgusting.
Well, it may be, but no, it's the price comparison. I mean, not just that.
Yeah.
Even when you look at even
What I
when
seen
you look at
on
oxtails,
$5.
oxtails is one of the foods we ate growing up. From our history, they used to be cheap. Now it's stupid expensive because everybody is I won't say colonized. That's a wrong word, but everybody's making it more mainstream than what it really is. But I think that's a great question. But I think and her mom was a great migrated. My wife's mother migrated from North Carolina to the north to Newark, and about 80%, 85% of her cooking was southern based. She added some northern foods in there, but it was still southern based cooking. So I think that's one thing that blacks took from the north south and went to the north. But great question. You can wrap it up, T.
I think this was an awesome question because we have had those conversations about the Great Migration, Reconstruction, and so it came on right on time. Um, and I watched all the episodes, really good. It started in New Orleans with Reconstruction, and then it worked its way up. The first season went through Charleston. So my migration is South Carolina Island people, those Gullah people. And so yes, growing up, there was always a garden in the neck of Newark. Go out and pick your food, zucchini, cucumbers, all types of vegetables, greens, everything. But and also rice. And they talked about this on a show, that Carolina Gold, and then sugar and how much we implemented on creating things and bringing things from over the water as we were brought over here. Okra and things like that come from Africa. And so in New Orleans, it was more based of the African and the Creole mixed together, where people want to say, oh, the French had something. No, those were those slaves that came in and mix those foods together. So when you go out in New Orleans and you eat your beignets and stuff like that, these are things that slaves created to make food taste good. And so for me, I hate rice. I hate white rice. Let me tell you something, because these Geechee in this house will get up in the crack of dawn and make a pot of white rice, and they can
Oh,
eat
all right,
white
right.
rice all my
They
life. Great grandmother
doing
used to get
slavery.
up. She used to get up and she would make some brewed tea in Philly, put it in her backyard, and the summer brewed tea, best tea ever. And then she would put on a pot of white rice. They eat rice with their grits. They eat rice with everything they eat. So I don't know how to make rice. I refuse to learn. I don't like it unless I have to. Then I just do the bag and
Hey,
throw
Well,
it
I
out.
girl,
like rice. I'm not old right, but even during slavery, they used
hey,
to have
girl, look
rice in
here,
the
homeboy.
cornrows during
Yes.
slavery, huh? What you
Huh?
Girl
say,
was
bro?
like rice with grits.
That's a lot of stores there,
Yes,
buddy.
you go down to Charleston, you'll see a lot of that rice with grits
Yeah,
or rice in certain parts of North Carolina, down Wilmington and Supply, Shalope. They
right.
put clam chowder on their grits. Like we put stewed tomatoes on our grits.
You
If
should
you
stew
don't
with tomatoes on your grits.
stewed tomatoes, that's the thing. Stewed
Look,
tomatoes
we
on your
both
grits.
I
like,
never had.
hey,
I
like,
never
You
had
have
that.
addition
Okay.
grits. You have
I
a
mean,
side of stewed tomatoes. Yeah.
No, I never had that.
I eat
There's a
mine
lot
with
of
butter
stuff.
and sugar, so
Well, I
Yeah,
don't
I'm a
do
heathen.
sugar. I do butter and
that's
salt.
cream of wheat, sir.
I don't do a lot of sugar in my grits, and sugar don't
That's
belong
cream
to
of wheat.
spaghetti neither. But
No, that's what me and my wife, we
cream of wheat,
children with this way.
That's cream of
Oh, not
wheat.
cream,
yeah,
Just
that's not
make
right,
grits
sir.
with
cream of wheat.
sugar.
Oh,
Just
I
make
don't
some
like
cream of
cream of
wheat.
wheat.
No, grits with butter and sugar in it. That's how we eat it.
Oh, okay,
Ugh.
interesting.
So yeah,
Interesting.
we can have a whole conversation. Like we literally can have a whole conversation about the show and the brother that does it. An amazing job and how it goes to now. You know, when he went through the Harlem Renaissance and he was in Harlem and they still have certain speakeasies there and just all the history that went on. And it was just nice to see things that I grew up with, you know, like going to the Schomburg and going to certain soul food restaurants and stuff like that. So it's a great show. Y'all check it out. High on the Hog, season 2 on Netflix. And thank you for the Ask Toya. It was very enjoyable one. It was easy.
Nice as for you. I find it hard. I find it hard going to soul food restaurants in the north because I feel I can cook it just as well as they can. But that's my personal beef.
That's not.
But keep the ass
Well,
stories coming.
when you went to Carolina Kitchen, did you like it?
Yeah. Carolina Kitchen ain't bad, but Carolina Kitchen was a very nice established place. Thank you, Playmaker, for introducing me to such a fine establishment of Carolina Kitchen. Hey guys, we gonna keep. Hey Tori, how can they find you? I don't think you didn't give your handle.
Please send me all your Ask Toys. We have another Ask Toya episode, this time with the men and the women. Ask Toya Toia 74 gmail.com or Ask Toya Toia on Facebook.
Good stuff.
Keep them coming.
And like always, guys, this is one of those shows that if the school system don't want to teach our history at daggone it, we got a platform and we gonna teach it here over the top. At least our goal is to open your mind and open your mind to the history of some of the things that happened in our past, hoping that you can take it and run with it and get more knowledge for yourself. So tonight we're gonna talk about the crack epidemic. In the early 1980s, the majority of cocaine being shipped to the United States was landed in Miami and originated in Colombia, trafficking through the Bahamas. Soon there was a gluttony of cocaine powder in these islands, which causes the price to drop so much as 80% because they flooded the market with it. Faced with the drop in prices for their illegal product, drug dealers started making a decision to convert the powder cocaine to crack, a solid smokable form of cocaine that could be sold in smaller quantities to more people and extremely cheaper to sell and produce, rated to use and high profitable for dealers, as well as a very addictive to people that will use this drug. This will happen as early as 1981. Reports of crack were appearing in Los Angeles, Oakland, New York, Miami, Houston, and in the Caribbean. Um, and initially, crack had a high purity than street powder cocaine. So around 1984, powder cocaine was available on the streets at an average of 55% purity per 100 grams, which was equivalent to $282 in 2022. And crack was sold at an average of purity level of 80+% for the same price. In some cases, some major cities such as New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Detroit, one dose crack you could obtain for just as little as $2.50, was equivalent to a $7 price point in today's time. That kind of jump to our panel for some of the questions. Ron, I'll come with you with this one. How do you believe the crack cocaine traveled from the Columbia to our inner cities?
Actually, there was enterprising young men who had a thought process to make money. They had a natural growth of natural crop that grew in their environment, and they essentially traffic it here to America with the help of some government agencies for the purpose of. I was getting to it for the purpose for the purpose of solidifying aspects of things that they wanted to see happen here in the community. I feel like there's a number. I think there have been several waves of things that have been thrown at various different communities here in the country, and our community was stricken with crack cocaine, and the permissive will of the federal government and their coercion and enhancing the ability for these traffickers to get those drugs into our community exacerbate the problem that we have. It's crazy that one of the bigger rappers in the last maybe 20 years has taken on the name or the moniker of a gentleman by the name of Rick Ross, and a show was made about him by the name of Snowfall, which is a very interesting a very interesting show. If you get a chance, please take a look at it because it gives you a background on that. But a lot of what happened with the flooding of the streets of drugs was directly correlated with the federal government's coercion, or I shouldn't say coercion, alleged coercion, or functional interaction with drug dealers to bring those substances into America.
Good stuff. Q, I'm come with you. What do you think? Well, what do you think was the key factors in leading people the use crack? What's your thoughts?
The weed wasn't strong enough.
Okay.
No, it was kind of getting. I think it was a lot of stress. They were still going through all the racism that was going through around that time, and people needed a stress reliever. And hey, I joked about it, but sometimes the weed wasn't strong enough. I said, okay, you may need something else, something stronger. And with how it was kind of filtered in, all it takes is one person to say, hey, okay, I'll try it.
Mm-hmm.
And then one person brings two people bring three brings six, and now six brings seven, and that seven person bring a baby, and now everything's all out of control.
Facts. Good point. Playmaker, what effect did crack have on our communities, and do you think that we are still feeling those effects?
So I'll just jump into a couple of quick stats. So the first one that I thought was interesting that you probably all remember during living through this phase is 1 in every 4 African American male aged 20 to 29 was either incarcerated, on probation, or on parole by 1989, which was the highest incarceration rate in the world. And then by 1995, that went to nearly 1 in 3. So that right there just tells you how hard it hit the African American male during that time. With media, you saw the demonizing of drug dealers and addicts. On September 5th, 1989, Presidents George H.W. Bush appeared on television saying that this was the gravest domestic threat. He was basically saying that our cities were becoming battle zones, and you know who was in the middle of all these battles. The increase of violence and guns in our community in 2020. There were 477 murders in New York City. In 1992, there was 2,225 murders in the city. And then the last little thread I'll bring out is the myth about crack babies and the impact that had It basically gave police and medical staff the ability to take newborn babies away from their mothers. So instead of offering these mothers help, they basically put the kids in foster care and put the moms in jail. So if you think about all of those different impacts with all the men being incarcerated and even the women having babies, being separated from their kids, and then there was a negative stigma that was associated to kids that were born in this time frame. Basically, they were saying that they needed medication to kind of help control their not temper, but their activities. Yes, thank you. And then to come and find out after all of this negative stigmatism that was put on crack, that crack had the same effect of alcohol and tobacco to the fetus. So it just tells you a lot of stuff that was just kind of placed on our community during that time. And then are we still feeling the effects? My answer to that is yes. The murder and suicide rates among young Black males still remain pretty high. And a lot of that is attributed to the amount of guns that was poured into our community during that time frame. And now the guns are still in the community because of protection and things of that nature. So that's my summary on that question.
Good stuff. Good stuff. T, do you believe that the epidemic just happened, or was it part of a bigger plan?
What you think?
Well, that's why I asked you.
So there's
I know
this
what I
great
think.
book. There's this great book, and I read it some years ago. So it's called When Crack Was King, A People's History of the Misunderstanding Era by Donovan Ramsey. So it starts off and he's telling the story, of like we talked about in the beginning. But it was Congress that wanted to supply rebels. But Congress didn't want to supply the rebels. I'm sorry. The government wanted to supply the rebels for war. But Congress said, no, you can't, the war effort and stuff, the Contras, yes. And so they let them smuggle drugs. So then there was this high amount of cocaine coming into the country. And there was these two Berkeley students who figured out that you can get a quicker high if you add baking soda and water to cocaine. And it gives you a faster high and it hits you quicker because you're smoking it. And so that got out. Did that get out by accident? No, I don't think so. The neighborhoods, Oakland, Los Angeles, New York, and how it was, implemented in there was not by accident. These drugs was flooded in our neighborhoods because thing that happened, and we know during the Reagan era, Nancy Reagan and her war on drugs and how the propaganda had you fear any type of person who was a drug addict. Now, what Quentin said is probably right. The high was different, not on weed, but heroin. Because in the 70s, we know that heroin was the big thing. Shooting up was the big thing. So people started dying down off of that because people were dying on that and sharing needles and stuff like that. We're going into the HIV era and the crack era at the same time. So a user would get 100 times more jail sentence than somebody who had pure powder. So not only the drug dealers, but the drug users as well would have 100 times more jail. So what does that get us? That gets us men out of the home for dealing the drugs, and those users doing the drugs get locked up too. So that's where we go into privatized prisons. So we're making money off of the prisons. We're making money off of separating Black families and putting men and women into prison. And like G said, taking babies away, saying that they had an issue when the only problem was they were born preemies, and most preemies have developmental issues. I mean, it's just a natural thing. So yeah, it is part of a bigger problem.
Good stuff. Good. So African American families were largely located in low income and inner city neighborhoods. This led to crack impact African American community far more than others. Brief stat. I know the playmaker gave a couple of stats, so I think I don't believe I'm overlapping his stats, but we're gonna see. So between the years 1984 and 1989, the homicide rates for black males between 14 and 24 doubled. During this period, the black community also experienced a 20 to 100% increase in fetal deaths, low birth weight babies, weapons and arrests, and the number of children put in foster care. Playmaker, I'm gonna come in with you with this question. With crack being highly addictive and very cheap, did this set up a recipe for destruction for young black males during this time?
So my short answer is yes, but I think you also have to look at what's happening with the economy at the time. So at this point of the economy, you had a lot of your manufacturing businesses moving overseas. You had a lot of your companies bringing in computers and computerizing things. So people didn't have jobs. So you have all these people who have migrated into these cities. Now they don't have jobs. Boom, now crack is out. So the people who are looking to make a quick buck, they have the means to make a quick buck illegally. And then the people who did have jobs, well, you know how that goes.
Yeah. T, do you believe that this was limited to drug treatment? Do you believe that it was limited drug treatment centers available to deal with this issue?
Now, instead of dealing with the issue, like I said before, the government put policies into place to put users and drug dealers in jail at a higher for longer sentences than the average cocaine head or cocaine drug dealer, because of course cocaine was actually more expensive. But instead of doing what they do now with the opioid epidemic, no, they just threw us in jail.
Right, right. That's crazy. RJ, with these young men living in low income areas and with limited or no resources, do a playmaker alluded earlier. Do you believe that they felt like there was the only opportunity to make a lot of money and to support themselves and their families?
Yes. I
Okay.
wanted to go back and touch on one part though before I bring it forward to talking about. One of my favorite people in political life is Marion Barry. And if you've ever lived in a district for a while, you know that people have a affinity for Marion Barry. He did a lot of things, a lot of very positive things for the community. But he also fell prey to a party lifestyle that was directly correlated with around the use of cocaine. And in the 80s, the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, a lot of parties, powder cocaine was the tour de force. A lot of people were snorting a lot of cocaine. And when, like what Toya said, when a gentleman came up with the idea of creating base, what it did was it amplified the power of the cocaine and made that same drug that was a rich man's drug, a drug that more people could have access to and acquire. So when you take this drug that was 50 a gram or whatever and take it and put it down to $10 or $5, what you do is you have a potent high, but you also have an economically viable thing that they could have access to, right? But then you also have something that is extremely addictive. Now, to address the question, the young men living in those environments, one of the things that I really have broken down over the last maybe about 2 to 3 years in my mind is I got a lot of friends throughout the city of the District of Columbia. I grew up in Washington, D.C. Growing up in Washington, D.C., Northeast, Northwest were more established neighborhoods, and they had a lot more houses in those neighborhoods. So you have row houses and you have communities, you have families, so to speak. You have yards, you have fields, you have certain things. In Southeast, it's a little different. Southeast, Southwest, you have more apartment buildings. You have more single, like essentially departments for, I don't want to say lower class, but there were opportunities for families to come and live in those apartment settings. And that's where a lot of like either the projects in Northeast, Northwest, or these apartments in Southeast. I live near one of the biggest open air drug markets I've ever seen. And what it did for these kids, it put money in their hands. That's why Marion Barry tried to effectively give us summer jobs to keep us off the street from selling drugs. However, some of these kids grew up in environments that were extremely rough. You know, like when Ghostface talks about John peeing in the bed, a lot of the kids that I know will come to school smelling like urine and pee. So if I can do something to alleviate that, and I can take this drug and sell it, these people are going to use it no matter what. And their psyche got into a place where they started to sell the drugs, and those drugs gave them a sense of, I hate to say it, it's a bad thing, but it gave them a sense of character, a sense of meaning and well-being, and it provided money for them. But it was bad. You become a bloodsucker of the poor. So the harsher part of it is that they put that money in the hood. The bad part of it is that we took advantage of it and we destroyed each other as a result of it. And that's the harsh reality.
Kim, do you believe this was the start of young black men killing each other in their own community? You think this was one of the catalysts?
I don't know if it was a start. I have to do research on going farther back as far as that goes. But this certainly didn't help when you got people just fiending, trying to get the next fix, and they'll do whatever it takes to get it. And all it takes is to kill the wrong person. And then now you got issue with a whole group of people. And then now you got issue with that one person, and you kill him, and that one person knows somebody now. And now we got turf for it. All it takes is, again, I said before, all it takes is one bad decision, and now everything has hit the fan.
Go ahead, Ron.
One of the guys I knew he was in a new era. One of the guys I grew up with since he was a little boy, man, since probably about the age of maybe about 4 or 5. We went to like pre-K together. Robbed the dude that lived in the building up from me. And when that happened, that robbery took place, it sent me to a different space. It sent me to a dark space because you know what I thought? If he would have did it to me, I'm going to say it, I didn't do it. I would have killed him. He couldn't have been in the same space where I was at. And what I saw is my friends turn into monsters. Dudes that I played throw up tackle with, football, baseball, basketball, laugh, joke with, went to school with, turned into animals, and they start preying on each other. And when you see people turn because they're getting money or they're getting cars or they become dangerous to their neighborhoods, the precursors were there already. The aggression and the violence were there. Crack exacerbated it and put it on.
Right. So in 1986, the U.S. Congress passed a law creating a 100-to-1 sentencing disparity for the possession of trafficking of crack cocaine, when compared to the penalty for powder cocaine, widely criticized discriminatory against African Americans and other racial minorities who more than likely use crack powder than the 100-to-1 ratio was mandated. I'm trying to get down a little bit. Give me 1 second. Let me jump right here. In 2000, so this actually spurred the fair. Come on, technology. This actually spurred the minimum maximum mandatory sentence in a 5-year federal prison. On the other hand, the possession of, so let's go back. Let me kind of tie it together. Give me 1 second. I do apologize. So African Americans, other racial minorities who are more likely to use crack cocaine and powder cocaine was 100-to-1, 100% to 1 ratio. And in 1986, a person convicted of federal possession of 5 grams of crack cocaine received a minimum mandatory sentence of 5 years in federal prison. On the other hand, the possession of 500 grams of powder cocaine carried the same sentence also. So in 2010, the Fair Sentencing Act cut out the sentencing disparities to 18-to-1. In 2012, 80% of all imprisonment for crack cocaine was African American. Further data shows disparity between length of sentences when crack cocaine and heroin a majority of crack imprisonment was placed in the 10 to 20-year range, while imprisonment rate the heroin use was only placed in the 5 to 20-year range. Now, we did talk about the disparities as far as sentencing and dealing with, so we're gonna run through these right quick. Kim, I'm coming with you. Do you think why was there such a disparity in sentencing between crack? Do you feel between crack cocaine and powder cocaine?
Yeah, everybody look at me real quick.
I don't know if we can read that. We got to speak it, sir.
You gotta look at the hand. Look at the hand. Look at the hand. That's why.
Well, you got to say it. You got to
hand and the
palm of the hand. Okay, got you. Playmaker, looking back, let's. Huh?
You know why? We don't need to say it. We know why.
Say you know what it is.
Got you. Playmaker, I'm coming with you. Looking back, do you believe that this situation could be handled differently?
Yes, I think there's two things that you could take a look at is how they demonized drug abuse and the dealers and the abusers, how they put all these resources into fighting the war on drugs instead of looking into the root cause and trying to provide jobs so people didn't have to do crimes, so people didn't have to sell drugs, provide centers so people could get help that needed the help. I think those, and then they went after the small-time drug dealers instead of the big cartels that were flying all of the stuff over here and all of that. So I think those are the things they could have handled it differently, is addressing the root cause of the problem instead of putting money to try to fight the war.
Good stuff. T, in what ways though you feel that we still dealing with the imprisonment of black males today due to the crack epidemic?
I want to piggyback off of what G said. So when you're the cause of the problem, why would you find a cure for the problem? That part.
I'm just
you're totally right. Those are the things that could have been done, but when you push the drugs into the communities, you saturate them in the communities, you the cause. So why fix the cause? Everything is designed for a certain reason. I think people still think that, like, we think, like, for real. Somebody said something about a crackhead, and I'm like, crack still exists? Like, for real, like, it just disappeared. It has not. It has not disappeared.
I mean, it's not as prevalent no more as it was. It kind of just went away.
It actually is extremely prevalent, and a guy here in Charlotte is showing how prevalent it is in all the wrong ways. Like, he literally vexes my spirit, but he is on the areas in Charlotte showing you the dark sides of crack cocaine, and it's just in all the wrong ways. And so he pisses me off on a daily. But when Obama let all those petty drug users, and Trump did too, let small-time drug users and dealers out of prison, that kind of helped, but they lost their lives. You talking about 20 years just for a piece of rock. That is just ridiculous. Right. Where, like G said, things could have been put into place to implement. You put not just drug dealers in, like, you didn't put the good kingpins. Now, the big kingpins finally came down. And I feel like, if I say this all the time, drug dealer has an amazing business mind. It's a money-making business mind of a good kingpin. And if all those kingpins that were in charge, like how in Power, Ghost wanted to come out, but they kept pulling him back in. Like, if you get out and flip that into a legitimate business, we have some great businesses right now. The entrepreneur spirit of a drug dealer is amazing. And that's not to glorify drug dealing, but just that mindset. You have to know math. You have to know money. You have to be on your toes. You have
Supply
to be
chain, supply
not
chain. You
stupid.
gotta have
You're a
balls.
smart person, but
Right.
that's
You
not
know
how
what
it's
though?
designed to set up.
You know what's really crazy though? I'm gonna tell you something, and I'm gonna put this in. I hope I do this justice. Lord, Holy Spirit, give me clarity and help me to do justice to this.
Pray about
When I was a little kid, right, I used to watch TV, and you watch a certain news, you see the White House and the event, and you see how Middle America supposedly lived and how sweet it was for them. And then you go outside your door, and outside your none of that reality looks like what you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So if everything around you, like on television, is showing you that place is there, but it's not accessible to you because you don't see education as a vehicle at that time because nobody's really taking education very seriously. Like you have most of you are being reared in the city of DC, you're being reared by Black teachers, but at that time apathy was starting to set in, right? And then the behavior started to change. If you don't see a vehicle to get you there, you're gonna take any vehicle that you can get to stop the pain. And that's effectively what a lot of those guys and girls did. And I don't necessarily condone it. And I couldn't do it because if I'd have jumped off the porch, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Because I have a real impulsive streak, right? But what I did see was that a lot of my friends right now who did jump off the porch, a good portion of them had grades. And they didn't do any long time, or the ones that did, they've actually come home. What we must understand as a society is that these kids are seeing a picture that they're not able to access. And what we have to do as adults is put them in position to see access. And you know, one of the things that changed my mind, one of the things that helped me have a little bit different perspective from a lot of my friends, I went to this program called a High Achievement Program, HAP. HAP took me to Georgetown Prep. From my house to Georgetown Prep is no more than maybe about a 45-minute ride. But it's a world away to a kid who's never been into those wide open spaces and seen a pool be inside a building and all these different things. And in that nurturing environment, they taught us that there was other things outside of it. So that's what we have to create for these kids, so they can see that there's opportunities beyond what it is that's in their environment. But if that's all I see, that's all I'm going to do. And I remember the first time being on a cruise, and I was like, man, dang, man, I didn't think I was going to make it to 18. And I'm sitting on the deck of a cruise ship. Man, I didn't think I was going to make it to 18. I'm sitting here in Africa on safari. All of that was because somebody gave me an opportunity and I saw something. So I'm going to tell y'all, if you had an opportunity to help young people, please reach out to them. Please give them an opportunity, give them a chance. Put something in front of them that's different from what they would normally see, and help them have an opportunity to have a vision beyond what it is that they're typically seeing in their neighborhoods, the bad things. Give them a chance.
Good stuff. We're gonna go around here. We got about 7-8 minutes left, so we running tight, but I definitely wanna get as much of this stuff in as we can. Playmaker, I'm gonna come with you with this and more of a round table. I'm gonna start with you. Do you believe that we lost a whole generation? I'm piggybacking on what Toya said. Do you believe that we lost a whole generation of business owners and other professionals due to the crack epidemic?
I mean, I think we kind of covered that with some of Toya's comments, and I would piggyback and say yes. I mean, anytime you have people doing mandatory sentencing for possession crimes, and they lose 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years of their lives, that hurts the community. So yes, I do think that it was a loss, and I'm not going to say completely lost because we still had people that did amazing things as always during that time frame. But for the people who were incarcerated, who were impacted heavily by the crack, yes, we did lose a lot for our communities.
What do you think about that, Q? What's your thoughts?
We didn't just lose a lot of business owners. We lost a lot of people. Like, people were lost. People who could have been business owners. People could have made a name for them. People who could have made a sufficient change. We lost because of
Good,
crack.
good stuff. So I'm gonna give you the last word on the crack epidemic. If you had a if you had to give one thing that we can do going forward that we don't make sure that this don't happen again, what will be your last word on that?
We have other epidemics now. Like I said, I thought, crack was gone. It really isn't. But now you have meth and you have black tar heroin and it just there's things to keep us down. And like Ron said, if we're not mentoring and keeping, so for us, because we were around when those things, the propaganda that the media portrayed and the things that were said, like, this is your brain on drugs. These were things to scare certain people like me or all of us to say, oh no, I won't do drugs. Drugs are bad. Or you're going to jail and you stay away from people like that. They made it look like our neighborhoods were infested with drugs. And so that kept some of us away from it. But for others, like Ron said, with the money and not having things, you had to put food on the table. So this is what you did. But you still have drug epidemics out here. And yes, people are addicted to opioids. I want people to stop saying they're addicted to weed because, weed is not addictive. It's not an addictive drug, but it's from the earth. And mentoring, these kids need to be mentored.
Good
Ronnie's
stuff.
laughing at me.
Good stuff.
You,
Good stuff.
you
Hey
sound
guys, we
like
gotta stay on
Bob
the mentorship with the kids. Hey guys, I know we run out of time. We have a couple minutes left, but I do want to say, hey guys, our goal is to educate you on what happens, and then now we challenge you guys to go out, do some more homework, and do your due diligence in your communities to prevent these epidemics from happening again. Hey guys, Quentin, last word. You got a couple of seconds, sir. Last word to get everybody in.
Perfect. Perfect, because you did say do homework. So someone do homework on this. Fact check me on this. But U.S. Congressman George Santos, if that's his real name, because he likes to lie, spent $400K on OnlyFans subscriptions. I saw that. I saw it. I read it. And I was like, "There's no way a politician spending $400K on OnlyFans." So somebody fact check me.
Got you.
But
Got you.
I read it, and I looked at it, I saw the headline, and I read it. I said, "Oh, all right."
All right. That's all we're gonna say. Playmaker, last word.
Hey, show love towards your fellow brother and sister. That's all I got to say.
RJ, last word.
um, you don't have to be perfect, but be your best. Have a good day, everybody.
Oh, nice. Now tell your last word.
Oh, hug your babies. You don't ever know when you let your child go out the door if they're going to come back. And let's get some more mentoring programs so these babies can stop killing each other out here.
Yeah, the killing of our young people worries me. Fathers, black men, your kids need you. My last word, I'm gonna say it again before we go. Fathers, black men, your kids need you. We having babies out here, but we ain't taking care of them. They need you. They run them up, run astray. I mean, they need your leadership. So if you don't have children, find a young man to lead it. If you do have children, please get in their children's lives. Hey guys, great show. Great panelists, great information. Thank you again for this movement of Over the Top podcast. And like always, guys, may your next move be the game changer. Peace.